Hello, everyone. Again, this is J8X Stuff, and this is the next part of this video. I'm going to show you in this next part how I do DaVinci Resolve. And the stuff, if we throw a rock, I might hit a tutorial here, but hopefully I'll show you enough. I'm not able to show you everything because, first of all, the video would be too long, especially if I'm telling you about it. I have what in the first video is it 26 or 27 minutes, about half an hour in the other one. I wanted it to be a half hour total for both parts of this. Unrealistic, but hopefully you stick with me here. This might not be a complete tutorial, but it'll just show you some of the stuff that I've done. Okay, but how I want to start though, first of all, is what you see here. We're going to jump around, but I'm going to show you, more complete stuff. But right away, I'm just going to play. Hello, everybody. This is J8X Stuff. This is the timeline of the OBS video I just did. This is part 2 of my video. First of all, here, please tell me you remember this reference to Electric Boogaloo. It's silly. I thought of it. I put it in. It's an 80s movie about dancing. To give you a clue, they named this movie Breakdancing 2 Electric Boogaloo. So I happen to remember that this is how I work, stream of consciousness. I just put it up there. And speaking of that, I don't use scripts. I don't use a script here. It might be painfully obvious, but I mean, as the time it takes me to write a script out for this, I would want to be recording it. And other people do that. Other people use a script, which is great. They're professionals. But anyways, I also have a earplug in my ear. I'm going to actually take that out. Oh, just to tell you, my little window here that you see me right now talking to you is not in DaVinci Resolve. This is part of the OBS thing. I have like my little window up that we're recording. A little bit of issue with lighting today. I had, I have a lamp in the background. I got lighting, big, huge windows, and I kind of just, it's fine. That is one of the things that I do want to get at some point, or figure out is a proper video recording light. When it's sunny out, I have the advantage of a big, huge window for natural lighting, which has been great. Another point I want to make before we really get going here is you'll see in this timeline here, there's a lot of cuts in it because I edit a lot. I cut a lot out. I cut a lot out because I want to say, what I have to say correctly. And I do say the a lot. I'll talk and I'll say a lot. And I don't like that. It's something I learned that I do that. So I can cut it out. I'm making my video. I can edit my video and I cut it out. And also, if I do make a mistake, I will repeat it until I get it correct. And then I'll cut out all the stuff that's crap. Another reason to edit is the video before this, the OBS one, it kind of ran a little bit longer than I wanted it to. It was near a half an hour. And I was considering making a part 3 of just this DaVinci Resolve. And I'm going to stick them together like I wanted to before. It's probably going to end up being pretty near an hour. Stick with me if you can, or come back to it or whatever. But I don't like to make them that long, but sometimes it's unavoidable. I'm showing you what I've done, but it's going to end up being a tutorial, But I'm not going to show you everything that I do in here. I'm going to show you most of the stuff that we're doing. Another thing I want to tell you in doing any program, or especially DaVinci Resolve, is save often. Especially in this one, I have noticed that DaVinci tended to crash after, for whatever reason. There are many reasons why a program could crash. I have noticed that it'll crash if I've used it for a long time. Another reason, there may be a setting that I did not put in here. I may not have added, or I may not configured something correctly. That could totally be my fault here. One thing I did find out was, to jump ahead to this, the playback of all this, you playing back this video that's in this corner here. This is your main output, what you're editing. And, you know, this proxy mode here, you may have to knock it down to quarter resolution of this, not what you're going to come out with, not what you're going to save your video as when you're done. It's just how you're seeing it now. It's using less horsepower, you know, to have to play that. If you have a lot involved, minus half resolution, it's fine, because of the kind of video, the flavor of my video that I'm using here. Okay, when you install your DaVinci, you're going to go into it, and there's the program to start it. We're going to skip that for us. But you're going to create a project. You're going to start importing media, importing your videos, importing your pictures and stuff like that. If you import something and it doesn't show up here, that means it's not compatible with it. That's one of the other things that I learned was I was doing a video a certain way, and then it wouldn't import. The way I have it look here, the way it looks here is kind of like Premiere. When you first start up DaVinci, it'll ask you how you want it to look. If you want it to look like Final Cut Pro, if you want it to look like DaVinci, what DaVinci really looks like, or you want it to look like Premiere. And I chose Premiere because I've used Premiere quite a lot. And it's not that much different than the other ways. It's kind of like the way the media or the timeline looks a little different, all Premiere-y and stuff like that. Okay. So we've imported our video clips and I've dragged them down to this timeline here. That's how we start. Take a video clip and drag it down to the timeline, and it's going to be able to place it there. Before you can do that, or when you automatically try to do that, I think you have to do this first. I think you have to create a timeline. You have to create a new timeline. You call it whatever you want to call it. We'll tell it to create there. And once I create it, all the other stuff, it went away, which is fine because my stuff is actually in these other timelines. And there are some naming things that I did to it. Timeline 2, 30 frames per second. That's actually the first part, the first video. And I know what it is, so I haven't screwed it up much. But I mean, it's timeline 8 here because I had done this 8 times and I renamed my timelines. So however that works. So this timeline 8 is the one that's active, and you can see above this window, the monitor window here, timeline 8 is the one that's open. And this is where you can drag your videos down to the timeline. If you're familiar with that way of doing this here, I'm going to go back to my other timeline to show you more about editing and stuff like that. Another point to make is that recording this to my OBS, the display from DaVinci, I've talked about using NDI to transmit your display from one computer into OBS to be able to use that. And I've done that before. In DaVinci Resolve, going from this and shipping it over to OBS, jumping through a lot more hoops, running OBS in the background to run the NDI plugin. It seemed to be a little problematic for me when I was doing this project here for some reason, and I think it was either something was downloading in the background, there was an update going on, or whatever. But what I did do was I got this little adapter thing, and we're using this. It's really cool. It's really good. Insert picture here now of what it is. It's a little HDMI video to USB. So it's a new kind of capture device that goes into OBS or any other program. What I did was I took another output on the back of my video card on my my computer, this computer here I'm working on right now, and I plugged an HDMI cable into it and then plugged it into my USB 3 port on my computer. This adapter here is USB 3. They have USB 2 ones out there, but I did that, and it's actually pretty slick. It does the 1080p 60 frames a second. It's very good at capturing video, and I'm shipping it into OBS right now. There's a touch of lag, just a real touch of lag. I'm Bob Jakes. If I play the timeline a little bit, but I mean not much at all. The equipment I use and how yeah. So that was it was $13, and I know I sound like, you know, got it on sale, so it's really good. You know, I got it really cheap, so it's really good. Well, these are, I had to look for one that was good by the specs, you know, 1080p, and it had to be 60 frames a second, even if I'm not using it. Yeah, and I didn't talk about this in the other video showing you all my equipment because I just got this. I wanted to try this because I had some issues with, like I said, with going NDI over the network to OBS. And it wasn't bad. They weren't bad. It's just that I wanted to be more in sync, and this is working out really well. One last thing before we get started here is when you have OBS and you have DaVinci, there are other apps that you can look for out there that are really good. There's for loading up pictures and saving pictures and stuff like that. GIMP is very good. GIMP. It's free. It's another free one, and it's a good one. There are a few other ones out there, but I tend to gravitate towards GIMP. It's Photoshop. It's free Photoshop. You've got Audacity, an audio editing program that is also free, also very good. There are others out there, but I use Audacity, and a lot of other people do as well. And for playing videos and using and giving you codecs and stuff like that, abilities to play different kinds of videos, Vlc Player is a good one. It's videoland.org out there, but you can download whatever kind of VLC player works on your computer, Mac, PC, Linux, and stuff like that. Those are some things I wanted to make sure I told you about before we move on to getting into this. Okay, so I have, like I said, my timeline, and I've cut these up, and I cut them because I make a lot of mistakes in speaking, so I cut a lot of that out. And obviously I have different video clips to add into that. Okay, so you have this window here with our media pool that you import file, import media, and it's a video or something like that. If you've imported something and it doesn't show up here, that means it's not compatible. I've created other folders here called bins. They call them bins. I've created these other folders to put stuff in other places and named them random things that make sense to me. Name yours differently. This window obviously is that we're editing this video, we're cutting this video in, is the cut window. And what I would do is I'd come to a certain part and I'd push Control B, and it would cut right where that the timeline marker was. I'm probably using the wrong word, but it depends on the program. What, you know, you learn certain words for certain things, you know, the timeline crosshair, whatever. It's that thing, wherever that was, it cut it there. I'm going to undo that because I didn't want to cut it there, but you get the idea. You select this part and you cut out, you know, you cut it here, and then you'll go to another part and you'll cut it there, Control B, and then you'll select the part that's in between. Well, it's showing you the whole clip there, but when you click on it, you're selecting that part of it. You hit the delete key, and that'll get rid of that part of the video. So we're cutting here, and when we're adding text, this is the fun part also. When you're adding text, what you want to do is you want to add another track, a video track. And that's just what I did. I right-clicked here and I went to add track. Above this main clip here, this main video track 1, if you add video tracks, well, if you add tracks above it, there are new video tracks. If you add tracks below it, they're audio tracks. I'm not doing anything with them just yet. There's going to be other things that I'm going to be doing with them. But I added a second video track. That's where I put text, titles, which I'll show you in a minute. Also, I add a third one because I may add a video clip to this that overwrites, everything. It's a hierarchy. Everything above this is what is shown. That's one of the things I needed to understand when I was first doing this years ago, was everything above track 1 is what you see. So you add text here to video track 2, and then you'll add something over this, it'll be in front of it. So I add 3 tracks because, okay, here I'm adding just titles. But if I add video to this track here, track 2, and then I want to put a text in, I got to add it into track 3, a title into track 3. So it's like you're bumping up, or you're just putting stuff into track 2. So that's your video tracks on DaVinci or any editing program. Okay, as we go down the line here, most of what I've done is this. Most of what I've done has to do with this: cutting out video, adding titles, and I've selected that title, Electric Boogaloo. You're welcome. You come over here and you click on the little slidey thing here, whatever it's called. You click on text and you click on Open Inspector. That's what this window is. It's what the text is that I put in there. And I'm going to show you how to make a new one. But that's what that is. The text, it's overlaying on top of the video. There are other things you can do with that text to have it completely, in front of a black screen and stuff like that. So I'm closing out this window here of this Electric Boogaloo. So you want to go ahead a little bit to wherever. And then you go over to titles and you take whatever text you want. What I'm using is this. Whatever other kinds you want to use, and do that. Okay, so I dragged the text down there. I want to select it, and I want to go over to, it's already selected over here, the T for text or titles, and then I open Inspector, and this is where you change what it is. And you change the font, and you change the alignment if it needs to be, if it matters, and down here, the position, you slide this over in this box here, and you slide it up and you slide it up and down, and that's that's where I want it to be. I'll usually put real words in there, not this or whatever this is. Anyway, so that's the idea of doing a text file. And like I was talking about, video track 3, you can move it up and then you can put something else in there. But that's the idea for titles. There's more to it, but for right now, that's what you can do. You can add titles that way. There are obviously a ton of other kinds of things that you can do with it. But for the everyday stuff, the vanilla hamburger editing, that's what I was doing. Okay, so being that we're in the cut window, because that says it down here, we're in the cut window, I'm going to show you other things. The edit window is a more precise way of editing stuff. If I want to cut out a really little part of the video, how close can we get? We get there. And I can cut it there, Control B, I can cut it there, and I can delete a very small part. And there's other things you can do in this in this edit window as far as doing the audio and stuff like that. You can take this and you can see when I move my, this is the soundtrack. So when I move my mouse to where it's got the 2 arrows, I can grab that and I can pull it down to make it quieter or louder. There are a ton of other things you can do with fades and stuff like that. But I'm going to show you more in a second. I'm just going down the line here as to what all these windows mean. Fusion is something I have not used yet. It's very cool. I have seen some videos about it, but it's a way to do effects. It's a way to do what is compositing. You're doing special effects with the video, and there's too much to talk about right now. But it's a really cool effect, and I have not done anything with it because I haven't needed to, but I hope to at some point. Color. Yeah, this is this is a really involved window here. Am I in the way? No, it doesn't look like I'm in the way. I'm not that much in the way. This is where you do what's called color grading or color adjustments to your video. You can move these here to make them, to change the if there's a color that you need to change in the video. I could, if I was capturing video from this computer, like on that camera there, if I was capturing video, I could make this brighter. There's also an adjustment on OBS that I could have gone to use to make it brighter. It's fine. It's a webcam, it's fine. But this is where you've got all this control over adjusting the color and doing a ton of other things that I just don't know much about, but I have seen in action. DaVinci Resolve has been used and is very popular for doing just this. They may edit their video projects in the big movie houses. They may do it in Premiere or whatever, but a lot of times they'll import it into a DaVinci. There are other more costly and more involved versions of DaVinci. This free version, has got a lot of stuff in it, which is very cool. It's got this in it too, but there are more involved programs than this. Fairlight is what I actually use a lot for editing audio or for adjusting audio. But looking up here, these are all the tracks that you can use, that you can put into your project. I only have the one from the video track. It's the soundtrack from the video. And I added audio to here if I added some music to the music background or something like that. But you can keep adding tracks here to do whatever, to put whatever into your video. In this track, A1, audio 1, going over here, I added some effects. One I added was noise reduction, and it's very small over here, but if you click on this little slidey window there with the sliders, it shows you what you can do to if I push
this
play,
part.
yeah.
I use what software?
It's adding
I use OBS Studio and DaVinci Resolve.
Noise reduction to it.
And this,
a little bit of hiss. I've talked about this before. A little bit of hiss, a little bit of fizzy in the sound of the microphone. So I added that. They're actually really good. If you're just doing a vocal, if you're just doing a voiceover or something like that, or this soundtrack that I'm recording now. I added the equalizer to this channel too, but I'm not using it just yet. I don't know if I am, but I wanted to put there just in case. Like I said, hissy, fizzy microphones a little bit compared to the more expensive ones. But you're able to do that. I mean, we're talking minute, areas, but you just don't. When you hear a little bit of hiss, you're like, oh my God, I got to fix that. And that's one of the ways you can add noise reduction here. And we'll move on to the next window. This is where you take what you've done, shows you the timeline a little bit differently. But this is what you've done. And this is where you output it as a video file, or you stream it. There are so many other things that you can do with this. This window over here, to the left, it shows you what kinds of videos you can output this to. You can deliver it to. This is what they call it in DaVinci, to deliver the video file. There are presets here that for YouTube, which is what I use. And then there's H.264. H.264, if I haven't said it before, if you haven't heard it before, is the kind of video, the flavor of video that is a standard nowadays, H.264. There's a new one called H.265. That's even, it's after that, so it's even better now. You can actually apparently make the file size smaller. So it's a little easier to move around. But H.264 is one of the video flavors that I export to. But for me here, I export it as YouTube because that's where it's going. That's where this is going, my video project. You name it here, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to right here, but this is where you browse to where you're going to save it to. I have my drives and my folders, and I cancel out of there. Hopefully I'm not in, am I not in the way? Yeah, okay, I'm all right. Okay, so I've chosen YouTube, and it's showing you stuff down here. Well, it's showing you stuff down here that how I had set it before. The resolution, 1920 by 1080. Showed you that before. Frames per second. My project is 30. If you were 60 or you were 24, it would show you that. Now I'm using QuickTime here, and I was avoiding QuickTime because QuickTime is something Apple really has stopped using, but it's a video format that's still usable, still popular, and they still have it in DaVinci because one of the other things you can do. This is we're going to go down a path here that has to do with if your video is not, if it's not playing correctly, or if DaVinci crashes and it's not running correctly. The video format that DaVinci really likes, apparently, what they're talking about is if your H.264 is a standard that works well in DaVinci, the one you record, that's fine. But the other kind is DNxHD. I just learned about this. DNxHD is a high definition format. DaVinci likes it. You can export it. A lot of other programs use it. One of the tutorials I took, one of the tutorials I looked at on YouTube was saying, okay, so you want your video to work better in DaVinci, go to here, go to this, all the stuff that I showed you, and choose QuickTime and go down to DNxHD, and the type is you can select different kinds of this. This one here, the 220, 180, 175. Just learning about this, or you can go 444. They're very good, even better codecs, formats, flavors. The reason I tell you that is with all of that, when you do, well, over here to the right, I had already done this, a test one. So I'm going to actually delete this because it's in my render queue. I'm going to delete this because I already done it. And then you add this video here. I'm going to add this to render queue. And it's how you're going to name it, blah, blah, blah. And I can save this. Now it's in the queue here. I'm not going to do this, partly because I don't need to. We don't need to go through that because it's going to take a little bit of time. But when you choose DNxHD, the other thing I learned about it is that unless I learn in the future or someone, lets me know or something like that, unless I learn about this, DNxHD makes the file size a lot larger. Which is ironic to me because this MP4 flavor of video that I have is not real huge. And that's what I went for at first. DaVinci is really compatible, runs better, however you want to put it, works better in DaVinci. But the file size is large. And the only thing that means to anybody is how much room do you have to store your video? One solution for somebody was to take all their MP4 videos that they did that didn't work quite that well in DaVinci was to convert them all to DNxHD. And in doing that, ran better, but they were huge. This is our deliver window. This is the end of the line if you're done with your project. Some final thoughts about this process here. If I made a reference to anybody that I've watched tutorials from or I've learned from, they're all unsolicited. I'm just telling you, these are the people that I have watched a lot of other ones, but the ones that I keep coming back to are the ones that I've named before. If you subscribe to my channel, great. Thank you. If you leave a comment, thank you. Do like or not, or whatever you want to do. And before we really stop this video, I just wanted to add a couple of notes here in the process of shooting and editing this video. You're always learning something, and there's more stuff I learned in DaVinci Resolve. The first one is when I was editing this video here, I started in version 16 point whatever over a month ago, and in the meantime, during this, there was an update to version 17. And as a result, obviously, if you saw my titles a while back, when I was making titles, the irony is amazing. When I was making the titles part, what you do looks different. It's better. And if you go and there's going to be a real tutorial about how to do that, but I just make a note about it. Another thing I wanted to mention was I learned about synchronizing 2 video files in DaVinci, and there's a setting you can do. I'm not going to cover it now, but it was very cool. I didn't want to. I mean, it's something that I wanted to do later. It's just one of those, synchronizing 2 video clips, and that you can switch between them, or you can shoot 2 video clips at the same time, and you want the audio from one camera, and you want the video from another camera. In my case, I was shooting on a webcam. And I'll go into this, at some other point, but this was really cool. Anyways, those were the couple of notes that I wanted to add at the end of this part 3 video of my epic, my epic project. I will once again say thank you for watching this video. If you did, if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. If you want to leave a comment, that's great too. But we'll see you on whatever next project I'm working on, which there will be a few.